On one ordinary night in 1986, a lake in Africa breathed out, and by sunrise, 1,746 people were dead, killed in their sleep by the water itself. That lake is on this list. So is a stretch of ocean that swallowed an entire flight of aircraft, and a flooded crack in the earth so deep no machine has ever found the bottom. But the one that stays with you is number 3. A lake so caustic it turns the animals that die in it to stone, yet where millions of living creatures somehow breed. Stay with me because by the end of this video you will know the 10 most dangerous waters on Earth, the ones even the people who know them best refuse to enter. We think of water as the thing that keeps us alive. For most of human history, it was also the thing most likely to kill us. Even now, with satellites overhead and sonar below, there are stretches of water where the ocean still wins. Water with a chemistry that should not exist, a force no hull can survive. We start at the edges of the map and move toward the one place that has defeated explanation for 100 years. Number 10. Hranice Abyss. In the eastern Czech Republic near the town of Hranice, there is a hole in the ground filled with water that looks from the surface completely ordinary. It is the deepest flooded cave ever found on Earth, and no one knows how deep it actually goes. For decades, divers pushed deeper and deeper until the human body could go no further. In 2016, an expedition supported by National Geographic sent a robot down on a cable instead. It descended more than 400 meters, over 1,300 feet straight down, and ran out of cable with the bottom still nowhere in sight. A later probe reached 450 meters and still found no floor. And here is what makes it stranger than any ordinary cave. It was not carved from above by rain. It was eaten from below. Warm, acidic, carbon dioxide-rich water rising up through the rock and dissolving it from the bottom up over millions of years. The thing that made this abyss is still down there, still working, which is why no machine has found the floor, and why it may run deeper than any cable we have built. We have mapped the surface of Mars more completely than the inside of this one flooded pit in the middle of Europe. But the next danger does not hide underground. It runs through a bridge that people cross every day. Number 9. The Rio Cobre. In the hills of Jamaica, a river carves a narrow gorge on its way to the sea. For most of the year, it looks gentle. Crossing it is a flat stone bridge built sometime after 1724, one of the oldest on the island, and it has almost no railing. Over the centuries, engineers bolted on guardrails of metal and then wood, and the river tore every one of them away. The reason is the gorge itself. When rain hits the mountains above, the river does not rise slowly. Funneled into those tight stone walls, the water has nowhere to spread, so it climbs tens of feet in minutes, turning a calm crossing into a wall of brown water faster than a person can run. Vehicles have been swept off that bridge and pulled under, and the gorge has taken life after life. The people who live there have their own name for it. They speak of the river Mama, a spirit in the water that turns the river an eerie green before it takes someone. The science and the legend point at the same truth. The water can turn on you in the time it takes to cross a bridge, and the calm surface is the most dangerous thing about it. But the next stretch of water swallows things far larger and far harder to explain. Number 8. The Dragon's Triangle. About 1,000 kilometers south of Tokyo lies a stretch of the Pacific that Japanese sailors have feared for generations. They call it Ma no Umi, the Sea of the Devil. In 1952, the Japanese government sent a research ship, the Kayo Maru No. 5, with 31 people aboard, to find out why vessels kept vanishing here. On the 24th of September, it disappeared. Hydrophones thousands of miles away on the coast of California recorded an enormous underwater explosion that afternoon. The volcano they had sailed to study had erupted directly beneath the ship. There was no wreckage and no survivors. And that is the key to these waters, with no need for legend. They sit on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where undersea volcanoes erupt without warning. The seafloor holds vast fields of frozen gas that can burst upward and rob the water of the density a ship needs to stay afloat. The sea here needs no monster. The floor it sits on is alive. And like the Bermuda Triangle you will see at number 1, this sea is ruled by a warm current that wraps it in sudden fog and carries wreckage far from where it sank. But the next stretch of water needs no volcano to be the most feared crossing on the planet. Number 7. The Drake Passage. Between the southern tip of South America and the coast of Antarctica lies a 500-mile gap of open ocean, the most violent body of water that ships cross on purpose. The reason is a current, the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, the most powerful on Earth. It circles the whole continent, and because there is no land at that latitude to slow it, it builds unbroken all the way around the planet. Funnel that much moving water into the Drake Passage and the sea has nowhere to go but up. Waves here routinely top 40 feet. In the worst storms, sailors have reported walls of water near 80, the height of an 8-story building. The sailors who named these latitudes did it out of fear. The roaring 40s, the furious 50s, the screaming 60s. For 4 centuries, this was the only sea route around the bottom of the world, and it took a staggering toll. An estimated 800 ships and 20,000 sailors lie beneath these waves, and it is not only old history. As recently as 2022, a sudden wave smashed through the windows of a modern expedition vessel crossing the passage and killed a passenger aboard. That is what makes the Drake so feared. It is not a freak event. It is simply what this water does every season to anything that enters it. The technology changes, the passage never does. But the next danger on this list was not made by the ocean at all. It was made by us. Number 6. The Strait of Hormuz. Between Iran and Oman, the Persian Gulf narrows to just 21 miles across at its tightest point. The shipping lanes inside it are narrower still, about 2 miles wide in each direction. This is one of the most important and most dangerous stretches of water in the world. And the danger here is not weather or depth, but geography. Roughly a fifth of all the oil the world uses is carried through this single gap every day. And there is almost no other way out of the Gulf. If the strait closes, that oil cannot simply take another route. That is what makes a few miles of calm water one of the most fought-over places on the planet. History shows what that pressure does. During the tanker war of the 1980s, ships in these waters were attacked and the strait was seeded with naval mines. One warship, the USS Samuel B. Roberts, struck a mine here and was nearly torn in two, kept afloat only by her own crew. Every other water on this list is dangerous because of what nature does to it. This one is dangerous because of what it is worth. The only place here where the threat is not the sea, but the people fighting over it. But the next body of water kills in a way no one saw coming, and almost no one believed was possible. We are halfway. So far, every danger on this list has been something you can see: a wave, a current, a narrow lane of sea. The places ahead are stranger, quieter, and in some ways far worse. You are about to see the place at number 3, the one I promised you, the lake that turns the dead to stone, where millions of living creatures somehow thrive in water that should kill almost anything. And at number 1, the most famous water on Earth, the one that has swallowed ships and aircraft for a century, and still no one can fully explain why. Stay with me. Number 5, Lake Nyos. High in the northwest of Cameroon, in the crater of a dormant volcano, sits a deep, still lake that looks utterly peaceful. It is one of the deadliest lakes on Earth. For years, carbon dioxide from the magma far below had been seeping up and dissolving into the deep water, held down by the sheer weight of the water above it, like the gas in an unopened bottle, packed tighter and tighter with no way to escape. On the night of August 21st, 1986, something disturbed the lake, perhaps a small landslide, and the bottle opened. In an instant, the deep water let go of its gas. A cloud of carbon dioxide, between 100,000 and over 1,000,000 tons of it, burst from the lake and rose into the night. Because carbon dioxide is heavier than air, the cloud sank, pouring over the crater rim and down the valleys, silent and invisible, hugging the ground, pushing all the breathable air up and out ahead of it. In the villages below, 1,746 people died where they lay. Around 3,500 cattle died with them. No flood, no fire, no sound, just a breath of invisible gas and an entire region gone still by morning. Think about what that means. The lake did not overflow and it did not burn. It simply exhaled once in the dark, and everything that breathed for kilometers around it stopped. Engineers have since sunk pipes into Lake Nyos to bleed the gas out slowly. But it is one of only 3 lakes on Earth known to do this, and the largest of the 3 sits beneath roughly 2 million people. The next place on this list is not deadly to people at all. It belongs to those who learn to live inside the danger. Number 4. The Bajau. Scattered across the seas of Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines are a people who for more than 1,000 years have barely lived on land at all. They are the Bajau, the sea nomads. They are born, they live, and many die on boats and stilt houses above water too deep to stand in, gathering their food the way their ancestors did, by diving for it on a single held breath. A Bajau diver can drop to 70 meters, over 200 feet, with nothing but a weight and handmade wooden goggles, and stay down for minutes at a time. For a long time, scientists assumed this was just training. It is not. In 2018, a study in the journal Cell revealed something remarkable. The Bajau have spleens around 50% larger than their neighbors who do not dive, and here is why that matters. The spleen acts as a biological oxygen tank. It holds a reserve of red blood cells and releases them into the bloodstream when you hold your breath. A bigger spleen means more oxygen and longer dives. The trait is written into their genes. Even Bajau children who have never dived are born with it. This is one of the only documented cases of the ocean physically reshaping the human body in modern times. The sea here was so dangerous for so long that these people did not conquer it. They evolved to survive it. But the next place is so hostile, almost nothing survives it, and that is exactly what makes it beautiful. Number 3. Lake Natron. This is the one I promised you. In northern Tanzania, at the foot of an active volcano, there is a lake the color of blood. Swirls of deep red and burnt orange, veined with white, like something spilled across the earth. It is one of the most hostile bodies of water on the planet. The volcano beside it feeds the lake a constant stream of minerals, and because the water has nowhere to drain, it just sits and bakes in the sun. The result is water with a pH as high as 10.5, almost as caustic as ammonia. And in the dry season, a temperature that can climb towards 60 degrees Celsius, 140 Fahrenheit. One filmmaker who worked there said the water would strip the printed ink off a film box in seconds. And then there is what the lake does to the dead. The water is saturated with natron, sodium carbonate, the very compound the ancient Egyptians used to preserve their mummies. When an animal dies in this lake, a bird that misreads the mirror-flat surface and crashes into it, a bat that falls in, the body does not rot. The minerals turn it to stone. A photographer named Nick Brandt found them along the shoreline. Birds and bats calcified into perfect ghostly statues frozen in the exact pose they died in. He stood them upright, as if alive again. And the images look like something out of a nightmare. A lake that turns the dead into statues. And now the part that should not be possible. This lake is not dead. It is one of the most important nurseries of life on the entire continent. That same lethal water is the single most important breeding ground on Earth for the lesser flamingo. Roughly 3/4 of all the lesser flamingos in the world are born here, millions of them. And the reason is the poison itself. The caustic water that kills almost everything else forms a perfect moat that no predator will wade into. So the flamingos nest out in the middle of it, on tiny salt islands, and raise their chicks where nothing can follow. Let that sink in. The most poisonous lake in Africa is also the safest cradle in Africa. The same water that mummifies the dead is the only thing keeping the newborn alive. Death and birth in the exact same red water for the exact same reason. But the next danger cannot be photographed, mapped, or even predicted. For most of history, we did not believe it was real. Number 2, rogue waves. For hundreds of years, sailors came back from the open ocean with the same impossible story. Out of a calm sea with no warning, a single wall of water far taller than anything around it would rise up, crash over a ship, and vanish. Scientists did not believe them. The mathematics of the time said waves like that could not form. The stories were written off as fear and exaggeration. Then on the first day of 1995, the myth became a measurement. Off the coast of Norway, an oil platform called Draupner had a laser sensor pointed down at the sea. On New Year's Day, in seas of about 40 feet, it recorded a single wave 84 feet high, more than twice the size of everything around it. They are now called rogue waves, and we know they are real. In 2020, a buoy off Canada measured one nearly 3 times the height of its neighbors, the most extreme ever recorded. Several ships that vanished decades ago, leaving only scattered wreckage, are now thought to have met a wave exactly like this. That is what makes them so frightening. A rogue wave leaves no warning and no pattern. It rises from an ordinary sea, takes a ship in seconds, and the water closes over as if nothing was ever there. Remember that, because it is one of the leading explanations for what happens at number 1. But none of these prepare you for what comes last. Number 1. The Bermuda Triangle. There is a region of the North Atlantic between Florida, the island of Bermuda, and Puerto Rico with a darker reputation than any water on Earth. It covers as much as 1.5 million square miles of ocean, and for over a century, ships and aircraft have been disappearing inside it, sometimes without a single trace, no wreckage, no distress call. The most famous case is Flight 19. On the 5th of December 1945, 5 U.S. Navy bombers took off from Florida on a routine training flight. 14 men, clear skies. Partway through, the flight leader radioed that his compass had failed and that he was lost. The transmissions grew fainter. Then all 5 aircraft were gone. And then a rescue plane with 13 men aboard was sent to find them. And it vanished too. The Navy's final report used 2 words: causes unknown. Decades earlier, in 1918, a Navy ship the length of a city block, the USS Cyclops, more than 300 men aboard, sailed into these waters and was never seen again. No wreck, no bodies, no explanation. To this day, it is the largest loss of life in U.S. Navy history not caused by combat. So what is really happening here? Here is the honest part, and it is stranger than the legend. The U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Navy, and NOAA have all stated plainly that there is no evidence anything mysterious happens here more often than in any other busy patch of ocean. Even Lloyd's of London, which insures the world's ships, does not rate these waters as unusually dangerous. So why does it keep taking them? Because this is one of the most heavily traveled stretches of ocean on the planet, and one of the most volatile. It lies in the path of hurricanes. It is crossed by the Gulf Stream, a current so fast it can carry away wreckage before anyone arrives to look. Its floor hides sudden shoals and possibly pockets of gas that could sink a ship in seconds. And those rogue waves you just saw, this is exactly the kind of place where they form. The Bermuda Triangle is not cursed. It does not need to be. It is proof of something we keep forgetting. That the ocean is vast and fast and completely indifferent to us, and that even now, in the age of satellites, a ship full of people or a flight of aircraft can sail into open water on a clear day and simply never come back. We have not been beaten here by a mystery. We have been beaten by the sea itself, and we still cannot always tell you how. So that is the list. 10 bodies of water the people who know them best refuse to take lightly. Do me a favor. Drop a comment and tell me which country you are watching from. And out of all 10, tell me which one you would never go near, even if someone paid you. I read every single one, I promise. And if places like these pull at something in you, next week is for you. We leave the water for solid ground, the 10 most dangerous roads on Earth, the ones even truckers are afraid to drive. Subscribe so you do not miss it.